I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode 253, Commitment. If your husband is struggling with a pornography problem and you want some help with it and you are not finding the resources that you like, you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn. I am a certified life coach. I am an active member of the LDS faith, and I am the wife of a former porn addict. And on this podcast, I am going to share with you the tools that you need in order to start your healing journey. This is where I'm going to show you how to dive deep into intentional living, how to rekindle connection with your spouse, how to manage all that emotional turmoil that you're feeling, how to break the addiction cycle that you have to your husband's addiction, and tell you all of the ways to do that and start healing. I am so glad that you're here, and I can't wait to get started. Let's go. Hello, my ladies. Happy Monday and good morning. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I want to tell you guys a little bit about what I did. I actually got to go to a different congregation and teach their adult congregation on how to talk to youth about pornography. It was so good. I love doing this training live. It is one that I actually have as a freebie, and I'm going to put the link in the show notes. If you want to know how to talk to your kids about pornography, this is a live training that I did. I did it for a Leading Saints. If you guys know what that is, I did that for a virtual summit on pornography, and it's all about how to talk to your youth about it. And everything that I talk about can be applied to any children, no matter what age. And when you sign up for that, again, I'll put the link, you put your email in, I'll email it to you, that free training, that free video. You'll also get my favorite resource, a link to my favorite resource for kids. Okay, it's a book that you can find on Amazon called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. But this is a training that is just so good, and it was so fun to do live. It's not one that I have gotten to do live too often. I would love to do this every week live. If you want me to come do it live where you live, email me and let's figure it out. I would absolutely love to come do this for your church congregation or for your school board or whatever it is. You know, if you have a group, I would absolutely love to come speak. So let me know. You can email me and we'll figure it out. And in the meantime, if you want to watch this training, I highly recommend it. If you have kids, if you know kids, if you work with kids, if you're thinking about having kids, then this is 100% for you. So I'll put the link in the show notes. Again, it's just a free video training that I did on how to talk to kids about it. How do we navigate this conversation so that you can feel confident rather than feeling like uncomfortable and overwhelmed and like nothing's going to make a difference anyway and all of the jazz. So that was so fun. I was so glad that I got to do that. A friend of mine leads a congregation close by us, and so he asked me to come do it, and it was so fun. I absolutely love doing this, and I'm so passionate about it because I feel like we can actually change the course of this. Right now, I feel like we're losing to pornography, and I think one of the reasons why, this is just a little bit of a tangent, is because we're so silent on it. When we are silent on the issue of pornography, when we're not talking about it, that is when we get isolated, and when we feel isolated, we're a lot easier to beat. Right? One person is a lot easier to beat than a whole army of people. And it's very easy to think that we're isolated, to think that we're the only ones fighting this. And when you actually get this out in the open and you start talking about it and you identify it and you bring it to light, that's when you recognize how many other people are fighting this same fight with you. And it makes it so much easier to keep going. And then you find other resources that of people who are doing this with you. And it's so much easier to fight when you have a whole army at your side rather than just doing it by yourself. So it was amazing. That made my weekend. It was so fun. We also had soccer. It is soccer season. And we had soccer games all day on Saturday morning, which was so fun. My kids won their games and they played great. And I love soccer. I played soccer when I was growing up. So it's always fun to watch those. And that's what we're doing. I was just talking to a friend tonight and she was like, what did you do this weekend? What's new? Nothing is new. Okay. Everything is the same except, also my couples course that I have been running, which has been so phenomenal. So phenomenal. This is the last week of the couples course, and Rob and I have been doing those coaching calls together. It has been astounding to see the response to this, to see the growth that these couples are making, to see the ahas and the light bulbs and the things that they've been able to discuss and come together on and learn about. And if you guys want to be first on the list to know when we do that again, then I will put the link in the show notes. You can sign up, put your email address in, and you can join the wait list list so that you're the first to know when we do this couples course again. I'm not sure when we're going to do this one in particular, or if we're just going to let this be something that you can just always sign up for without live coaching calls. Rob and I have tons of ideas for additional couples courses that we want to do about money, about communication, all kinds of ideas. So if you want any information on couples courses in the future, please go ahead, join the wait list. I'll put the link in the show notes so that you don't miss out. Okay, today, ladies, I want to talk about commitment. And this is inspired by the last week of the couples course. I talk about how to have a porn-free marriage is the name of the couples course. In the very last week, I'm talking about how to create an offensive shift and how to build and grow together. And as I was talking about, what I really wanted to end with was a conversation on commitment. So I created this whole video, this whole training on commitment, and it got me really thinking about how I wanted to share that with y'all. And so I want you guys to take this for a minute. We're going to talk about commitment, and I want you to just think for a moment of what is it that you have in your life that you wish were different. Okay, take a moment and really think about it. What do you want to change? What do you want to have different in your life? If you could have any result, what would you have? And now I want you to, and you can pause this, and I want you to write it down. It's very important that you write it down. And you might have several things. Maybe it's your weight. Maybe you want to save money. Maybe you want to get out of debt. Maybe you want to finally stop feeling anxious every time your husband leaves the house, or every time you leave the house and he's left in it, or every time he goes to the bathroom and he has his phone with him. Maybe you want to change the relationship you have with your kids and you want to feel more connected, be more present with them when they're home. Maybe you want to have family dinners more often. Maybe it's one or all of these things or none of them, and a whole different list. But take a moment, pause this, and actually write it down. What is it that you want to change in your life? What do you wish were different? And then I want you to keep that in mind as you think today and learn more about commitment, okay? What's fascinating about commitment, when you have a clear vision for what you want in your life, when you've identified what it is that you want and where you want to go, and you've identified all of the shortcomings that you have, all of the things that are in your way, all of the barriers between who you are right now, what you have right now, and what you want to have. When you've identified all those barriers, then what happens in our minds is our brain often gets discouraged, which I did a podcast a month ago on, and I would encourage you to go listen to it. It's called Discouragement, I think. And I want to encourage you to go listen to that. We get discouraged when we see all the roadblocks, when we see all the barriers between where we are right now and what we want. Then it's very easy to just lose our motivation, to lose steam. And then we get stuck in this mindset that it's not possible. And I want to offer today that we start to shift that thinking. And instead of focusing on the roadblocks, what we instead focus on is our commitment to creating the thing that we said that we want. Okay? Because you came up with it for a reason. Part of you wants that different result. Part of you wants something that you don't have yet. And all it takes in order to create it is commitment to that vision. And I know that that seems like it's simplifying it too much, and I want to offer that it's not, okay? The only thing between where you are right now and where you want to go is your thoughts and feelings, okay? And I want you to think about that vision, get a really clear vision of that in your mind, of what it is that you want, what do you want to create, what is the result that you wish you had, and then you commit to creating it. And when you commit to creating it, it's not just about a nice idea. It's not just about saying nice words that, oh yeah, I'm going to make this happen. No, when you commit to having a different future, a new future that you don't have yet, it requires more of you than just repeating nice words. Okay? It requires you to transform. It requires you to become somebody who is committed to that vision. It requires you to have different thoughts. It requires you to think things differently. And that entails a lot more than just repeating nice words. It's not just mantras. It's about changing the patterns in your brain. And as you guys know, which is what we talk about on the podcast all the time, that requires work and effort. And it probably requires a coach to come and see what it is that you already are thinking. It requires awareness of what you're thinking, acceptance of what you're thinking, not judging yourself for what you're thinking, processing the emotion behind what you're thinking, and then retraining your brain and knowing exactly how to do that and being onto your brain so that you can notice when your brain wants to relapse into old patterns, right? That's what a new thought requires. So I want you guys to think about that thing that you want to create. What is that thing that you wish you had? What does a person who is committed to creating that, what do they think? Do they sit there and think this is impossible and then feel defeated? No, they don't. They think, how can I? How can I make this happen? And how can I do it sooner and faster and better than I thought that I could? Who can I get to help me? How can I make this go faster? How can I make this easier for myself and more fun? It's one of my favorite questions that my coach ever asked me is, she's like, when you're looking at your business, it's very tempting to feel heavy and overwhelmed, and there's marketing and there's networking and there's all these things, there's different pieces in all of it. And she said, one of her favorite thoughts, and she always offered it to me, was, how can I make this easier and more fun? Okay. And that's a thought that I want to offer for you. How can I make this easier for myself? One of the best ways that I know how to do that is to get a support group, to put yourself in a room where other people are doing it with you. It's why we go to church. It's a lot easier to feel like you're not alone, to feel re-energized, to feel remotivated to live the life that you want to live when you know you're not the only one living it. It's part of the reason why I have a group in coaching. It's why I highly encourage you to sign up and come join my coaching program. Not only do you have the group, you also have me as your coach helping you through this. So you're not doing this on your own. It's very hard to do this on your own. It's so much easier when you have somebody helping you do it. When you have a team of people who are supporting you and a coach that's leading you through this process. Okay? How can I make this easier? This is not going to be an easy process. How can I make it easier for myself? We don't have to make it harder, okay? So one of the things that, this is just a little tangent, but I think that one of the things that we like is we actually like to make it harder, okay? Sometimes subconsciously we like to make it harder because we think we get brownie points or a t-shirt at the end. Let me give you guys an example because I know that it sounds dumb. It's like, no, I would never want to make this harder on purpose, but we do it, okay? And it's our pride because we want to be able to say that we did it all by ourselves, okay? So again, let me give you guys an example. It's like if you're doing all the chores on Saturday and your husband hasn't done much, right? And then, it's 4 p.m. and you've done everything and you're like doing the last load of laundry and he comes up to you and he's like, oh, hey, is there anything I can do? Okay, even though you could tell him, yeah, I would love it if you'd help me fold the laundry, and all day you've been hoping that he would like notice that you're doing all the work and that he would just jump in and help. And all of a sudden he's like, here he is offering. And in that split second moment, sometimes your brain is like, I don't even want him to help because I want to say to myself that I've done all of these things today. So at the end of the day, when we go over like all the things that we did, I did it all by myself and I didn't even ask him for help and he didn't help at all. That's the part of us that doesn't want help. That's the part of us that resists. That's the part of us that doesn't want to say yes when people offer to help. That's the part of us that doesn't even want to seek out help. That's the part of us that wants to struggle through it and would be happier, would rather struggle through it than make it easier. But let me tell you something, ladies, you don't get a t-shirt. You don't get a t-shirt for getting through life without professional help. You don't get a t-shirt for getting through life without your husband ever helping you with the chores. You don't get a t-shirt for it. Nobody gives it to you. If they would, that would be great. I'm all for free t-shirts, but it doesn't happen, okay? Our brain is so sneaky that way and often keeps us so stuck and we don't even realize it because it wants the credit. It wants the credit for doing all the work. Ladies, let me tell you something. You get credit for all the hard work, okay? Nobody takes away the credit from you, even if you have a coach. Do you look at Olympians? Like when an Olympic wins a gold medal, we don't look at Olympians and be like, well, did you do it all by yourself? Or did you hire a coach? Because if you hired a coach, you don't get to take the credit. You have to give your gold medal to the coach. No, we're like, of course they have a coach. They have like 19 coaches. They've got like the health coach, the nutrition coach, and then they've got the sprint coach, and then they've got the stretching coach. They have so many people on their team that are helping them, and all it is to help them. They still have to do the work. They still have to do the hard thing. It's just easier, and they get a better result if they have help doing it. And that's what I want to offer to you, okay? So I want you guys to take a look at this. When you want to look at what it is, the life that you want to create, all of those things that you listed, how committed are you to doing it? You need to become the version of you who's already committed to doing it. The version of you that's committed to creating. What does she think? What does she feel? What does she do differently than what you're doing right now? Does this make sense? What emotions has she already let go of? What actions is she taking that you aren't taking yet? Okay, so I want you guys to really think about this, because that reality is that the result that you're looking to create is absolutely creatable. It's just not feeling like it is right now because you're looking at it from the version of you who isn't 100% committed to this. And I'm saying this with all the love and compassion and understanding and empathy in the world, because there have been so many results in my life that I thought were just out of reach. And we tell ourselves this to make ourselves feel better about the fact that we're not doing it, that we're not fully committed. But the problem with that is that we stay then in a reality where we aren't creating the results, where we don't get to have the life that we want because we're telling ourselves it's not possible when it actually is. We are robbing ourselves of the life that we want. Okay. Now, sometimes we might want something that is outside of our control, right? You might want your husband to stop watching pornography. That's not in your control. No matter how much you're committed to making that happen, that is not something that you have control over. So when you're looking at what you want to have in your life, I want you to make sure that it is something you have control over. Now, sometimes though, we might not put things on there that are in our control that we think aren't. Okay. This could be your weight, for example. Okay. A lot of people think that their weight is not within their control. Oh, I have health problems. I have this diagnosis. I have tried everything. That's just not possible for me. All of those are lies. Even if you have a health issue that makes it more difficult, you still have control over how you approach it, whether or not you go to doctors, whether or not you take medication, whether you keep searching for a solution and an answer, whether you keep pursuing a healthier lifestyle. You still have control over so much of that, and it determines how the result that you have in your life. And it comes from your commitment to creating that. But when you say, I don't have the control over this, then we just let it all go. And of course, it's never going to be created because we're just waiting for somebody else to come figure it out for us. And that's not how life works. If you want to lose weight, then you just have to commit to it 100%. And sometimes we want to tell ourselves that we've been committed 100% and we're not. This has been the reality that I have been looking at in my business for the last couple of months, okay? Especially the last few weeks. And I talked about it on a previous episode. I talked about how I heard that if you're not making $1 million, you need to be spending the first 4 hours of every single day working on marketing. He was like, close the door, lock it, and set a timer and don't move for 4 hours until after you've done 4 hours of marketing. And I thought that I was doing a lot in my business until I saw that and I started trying it. And ladies, I'm not even up to 4 hours of marketing. And it still is so much harder and so much more work than I was putting in. And that took a lot of humility to have an honest conversation with myself about what I was telling myself I was doing versus what I was actually doing, versus how much I was telling myself I was committed to a result versus how much am I actually committed to it. Am I committed enough to keep facing it for 4 hours straight every single day? Am I committed enough to keep going when I hit a roadblock? Am I committed enough to keep going, to keep putting in time, effort, money, energy? Even when I don't see evidence that it's working. Because most of the time we will be committed as long as we're getting a positive feedback loop in our brains. As long as we're seeing the scale drop, as long as we're seeing our followers on Instagram increase, as long as we're seeing that our husband is making progress, as long as we are feeling better, then we'll keep going. But the second that stops, the second that starts to shift, our commitment drops and we feel hopeless and discouraged and we stop. Okay, that's because we weren't truly committed to it. So I want to go over the definition of commitment. Okay, because you have to not just feel committed, you have to become a person who is committed. Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay, committed is a feeling of dedication and loyalty to a cause. That's the definition. Feeling dedication and loyalty to a cause. Now let's go over a few things in there. Okay, so number one is it's a feeling. Where do our feelings come from, ladies? Pop quiz. They come from our thoughts. If you are waiting to just have thoughts created in yourself that create the feeling of commitment, you're going to be waiting forever, okay? You have to decide. Commitment is a choice that you make. You make a choice to decide. You choose a new thought. I am deciding that I am wholeheartedly in this. And that brings the feeling of commitment. Probably also brings up the feeling of like doubt. and fear and trepidation and all kinds of other things too that come from other thoughts. Like, I don't know how to do this. Is this going to work out? Is this just going to be like every other time? Those thoughts tend to follow. But that's what we want to offer, is that we first make a firm commitment. I am making this happen. I am in control of this result. I am going to create the life of my dreams. I'm going after this thing that I want. I refuse to accept that where I am is where I have to stay. That for me has been a super powerful thought, because I'm committed to not staying where I am. I am committed to finding a solution. It's the same thought that my husband had when he was depressed, and he finally had his third depression crash, and he had tried a bunch of things externally in his life to solve his depression, and it hadn't worked. And he said, there has to be something that works. I'm committed to finding it. And that's when he finally found it, because he was committed to finding the solution, which meant that if he found something that didn't work, rather than using it as a reason to stop, oh, that didn't work, that must mean it's not possible. Instead, he kept going because he was committed to finding the result. Everything that I've done in my life has come amazing, and everything that has transformed my life the most has come because I've refused to accept the status quo. That commitment has made the transformation, okay? What are you committed to? Are you committed to no longer living a life like this? Because I can guarantee you that you're not, okay? You might tell yourself that you are, but unless you are doing everything possible to change it, you're not, okay? If you haven't come join my program, if you haven't hired a coach, if you haven't processed the emotion, if you haven't found a way to retrain your brain, if you haven't let go of that emotional baggage, if you haven't done the work, and even if you're doing the work now and you haven't fully engaged and said, yes, I'm willing to let go of my distrust. I'm willing to let go of my fear. I'm willing to let go of those thoughts that feel so vital and important, then you haven't fully committed to it. Okay? And this is the best news, ladies, because that means that if you haven't achieved the result you're looking for yet, it doesn't mean it's impossible. It means you just need to commit to it in order to create it. It means that it's waiting for you. And all you have to do is decide that you're going to do everything in order to get it. This beautiful news. Okay? It's feeling dedication and loyalty to a cause or a vision, that vision that you want to create. That cause is you, that life you want to create. And here's the other thing about this definition of commitment is that it says wholeheartedly. It's not like 95% or 75% or 20% or only on Mondays, okay? This is not, I'm going to do this when I feel like it. Commitment is wholeheartedly. It's everything you've got, and it's never giving up. And I want to look at it, those two words. There's dedication in this definition and loyalty. And I want to look at those for just a second, okay? Dedication is devotion to a task or person or purpose, okay? So when we talk about commitment, it says that it's feeling dedication. It's feeling devoted to a task, whatever that task is that you want to do, a person, which is probably yourself, or a purpose. That vision that you have for yourself, that thing that you want in your life that you don't have yet, it's feeling devoted 100% to it with single-minded loyalty. And there's that word loyalty again. It came up both in the definition of commitment and dedication. So let's look at it. Loyal, the definition of loyal, is giving firm and constant support or allegiance. Okay? Again, loyal is giving firm and constant support or allegiance. So if you are committed to something, you aren't wavering in it. It's not just like on every other day or when I feel like it or, not when I'm feeling tired. It's not ebb and flow. It's constant. Okay? And it is firm. It's not wishy-washy. Okay? It's not a foundation that feels like it's going to give way any second. It is firm. And it has your whole allegiance. You are aligned. You are allied with this vision. You cannot be separated. It's like you have a treaty. It's like you have a pact, okay? You and this vision, you have a pact and you are 100% in, okay? And that's what I want to offer to you guys, that you start shifting in your brain. How can I be more committed to this? If I were already the version of myself who is committed to this, who won't take no for an answer, who will go after it no matter what does she think? What does she think about this vision? What does she think about this thing she wants to create? How does she feel about it? How does she feel about setbacks? How does she feel about those barriers that are in the way? How does she feel about it? And what does she do? When she comes up against those barriers, what does she do about them? And that's how you become the version of you who is committed to this, and that's how you create a new result. So many of you are trying to create a new result and do it from the same place that you've always stood, with the same thoughts, the same feelings, and the same actions. No wonder it's not producing anything different. That's what I've been trying to do for the past year in my business. No wonder it's not doing anything differently. No wonder I'm not reaching anybody new. No wonder. Okay, because I haven't fully changed. Because I was sitting with too much self-doubt, not fully committed to this idea that it could happen, that it was even possible. So today I want to offer that you commit to the idea that it's possible, if nothing else. Commit to the possibility. And when you commit to just the possibility, that is when everything starts to change. Because if it's actually possible and I'm committed to that idea that it is, then what? How will I think differently if I'm fully committed to that? If I were fully committed to the idea that this is possible, what would I think about it? How would I feel about it? What would I do differently? How would I spend my time? What books would I read? What movies would I watch? Would I watch any movies at all? How would I spend my money? How would I allocate my time, my attention, my energy, my budget? Who would I talk to? What would we talk about? What friends would I say I no longer speak to? What friends would I just, bless and release? What rooms would I put myself in on purpose? These are the kinds of questions that you deserve to ask yourself in order to create the life that you're living. If you want a life that looks different than the life you have now, you have got to ask yourself different questions. You have got to talk to yourself differently and think about yourself differently and start asking yourself questions about your life that are going to lead you forward in a very intentional way, in a way that you've never thought about before. That is how you create something different. That is how you magnify your life and you actually have results that aren't just a repeat of the year before. If you want your life to look different, and I know that you do because you're listening to this, then you have to start taking more responsibility and start committing to more of a vision of what's possible for you. All those things that you want in your life are 100% available and they are waiting for you. You just have to commit to creating them, to going after them, because they're there and they're waiting. And here's the other thing that I want to offer that most of us don't realize is that when we aren't committed 100% to what's possible, it means we're 100% committed to what we already have. All the things in your life that you wish were different, all the things that you wish weren't how your life is, the feelings you wish you didn't have, the thoughts you wish you didn't have, the things you wish you weren't doing, the results that you have, all of that is something you're committed to. Whatever your current reality is, that's a result of the commitment you already have. And that's a hard reality to face because it's not easy to take a look at ourselves and see that our life is a direct reflection of what we're committed to. But that's what it is. We are a reflection of the thoughts that we've committed to, the emotional patterns that we've committed to, the emotional baggage that we've committed to not letting go of, to the stories that we tell ourselves. We are so committed to our stories, the stories we tell about our money, the stories we tell about what's possible, about what we can do. How many of you have said, oh, I wish I could, but I can't because of X, Y, and Z? That is the story you're committed to. And it feels real. It feels true, especially when you have evidence to back it up. I can't join coaching because I can't afford it. How many of you thought that? That's a story. And you're committed to that story because you're committed to staying exactly where you are. And again, I'm not saying this because I'm judging you. Of course, this is where we are. But if you want things to change, then you have to stop being committed to what you have and start being committed to what's possible instead. And this is the best news that I could give you because it means that you're not stuck. It means that there's nothing outside of your reach and your capability and your possibility. And I believe in you 100%. I promise you, if you fully commit, you can create it. And that's what I want for you. I love you ladies so much. I'll see you guys next week on a brand new episode. So take care. All right, ladies, if you are loving what you're learning on the podcast, I want to invite you to take the next step and come join my lifetime access coaching program. This is where we take everything that you're learning on the podcast and I help you personally apply it so that you can create a true transformation. This is where you're going to learn how to actually process that emotional pain and finally let it go so that you can be free from it once and for all. This is where you learn how to become in control and confident in facing the future so that you never have to worry about what happens next. Head to my website, jolenewind.com, and sign up today. You will get lifetime access, and I'm going to help you one-on-one on all of the calls. I can't wait to see you there.